guys, welcome back to the channel. I think you'll really enjoy today's topic. It's really appropriate with the climate of everything going on in the world today. Today's topic is going to be on World War I, okay? And I'm going to tell this in a way that you've never heard before, you guys. I really hope you guys enjoy this. I'm going to try to keep all my eyes open as I tell this. And, I just hope you guys enjoy it. Please hit the like button. That really helps the channel out. I appreciate you guys coming by. If you've never been here before, please pull up a chair. Please stay for a while. Don't be a stranger. All right, let's get right into this, you guys. World War I, told like you've never heard before with the lanky prepper. Let's get it. All right, so World War I, you guys. A lot of people will tell you that this war started in 1914, and Archduke of Austria-Hungary was assassinated in Serbia, a bordering country, and a lot of people will tell you that it started in 1914. I won't tell you that. I actually believe that World War I started in 1884. And you're probably thinking, what is this guy talking about? How could it have started in 1884 if the history book says it started in 1914? Well, the history book is basically going to tell you when Europeans started attacking other Europeans. It doesn't really tell you when the bloodshed really started. It doesn't tell you when the wars really started. It just basically, tells you when the Europeans actually turned on each other and started attacking each other. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to give you my version of World War I and when I think it started by my studies and by what I've learned throughout my life, okay? So in 1884, there was something called the Berlin Conference, okay? If you're not familiar with the Berlin Conference was when a lot of European nations, the leaders from these nations met up. They met up really respectfully, there wasn't any problems, and they just really talked it out, and they divided Africa. Now, Africa was only about 10% of Africa was conquered at this time. At the Berlin Conference, they divided up the other 90% amongst each other, okay? So it's important because you have to understand that, when you hear about how Ethiopia was never colonized, you have to understand that it was supposed to be colonized. Italy was given Ethiopia at this Berlin Conference. And it's really crazy because Ethiopia had an emperor, and the emperor's name was Menelik. And Menelik was believed to be the son of Solomon. Solomon from the Bible, yeah, that's Solomon. Okay, so this is a really crazy war that I'm leading up to between Italy and Ethiopia. Now, this would be like the biggest first war that I would consider part of World War I, but you won't hear about this in the history books as being part of World War I, but to me it is. So it's important to understand that this Emperor Menelik had a wife, and his wife was basically the leader of his cavalry. She led about 6,000 cavalry, and she was a very strong-spirited woman. She really connected to the army. She taught them a lot of like spirituals and war cries and just different stuff to keep their morale up. She was like a big inspiration to the army. So Menelik and his wife were really great leaders. So that's part of the reason why Ethiopia was able to, fight off the colonizers. Another reason that they were able to fight them off was because for some reason the people of Ethiopia all spoke one dialect. Okay, that wasn't common in Africa. All over Africa, you had all these different tribes. You had all these basically tribes at war with each other. That's why they didn't speak the same way, because a lot of them were racist towards each other. A lot of them didn't get along with each other. So Ethiopia was just one place where they all spoke the same dialect. So it was easy for them to mobilize together and to get 100,000 people to fight Italy when they came. Okay, so this didn't stop Italy from actually getting into Ethiopia. Italy was in Ethiopia. The thing is that they never colonized Ethiopia. They never made Ethiopia bow, if you will. Okay, so during this war, this big war that I'm leading up to is called the Battle of Agua, okay? And this war is important because the reason it was fought was because Italy did like really some sneaky little thing, okay? They had Ethiopia sign this treaty, and in Italy, in Italian, the treaty said that, you know, you belong to us, but in Italian, the treaty said you belong to us, but actually, you know, in the Ethiopian dialect, it actually didn't say that. It was just like some, you know, some like not a big deal thing. So they actually tried to trick the Ethiopians into becoming, you know, being their property, basically. You know, and when the Ethiopians discovered that, that's when they decided they wanted to go to war. So when the Ethiopians mobilized against the Italians, they actually defeated them. You know, it was a lot of losses on each side, and despite them not having, you know, the same as good at weapons as the Italians, they still beat the Italians. And this is why they weren't colonized like the rest of Africa was, okay? So this is really important, and this is the first battle of World War I to me. Now, going back to this Archduke, okay? This Archduke over in Austria who went to Serbia and was assassinated. Okay, so before we even talk about him being assassinated, we have to talk about what exactly is going on between Serbia and what's going on between Austria-Hungary at this time, right? So this Archduke is going over here to Serbia, and he's, you know, bringing his wife, and he's hanging out, and he's doing stuff. But about 7 years before that, you know, there was already drama between Austria-Hungary and Serbia, because Austria-Hungary actually took two nations from Serbia, and that's Bosnia, and I can't pronounce the other one. I think it's Haradov, or whatever it is. But, you know, they took two nations from Serbia, and they annexed them. You know, that means that they just took them and made them part of Austria-Hungary again. So, you know, Serbia was already mad about that, you know, that they took these two nations from them. So when this happened with this Archduke, you know, history will tell you that, you know, Hungary made all these demands of Serbia, you know, all these crazy demands, and that Serbia said, like, no, we're not going to do that stuff. But the truth is, you know, Serbia didn't even really deny the demands. Like, they said they would do all of the demands except for the one that, you know, went against their constitution. There was one demand that went against their constitution. Everything else they agreed to do. But, you know, Austria-Hungary really wanted this war. So that's when they went to Germany and they asked Germany, you know, to start this war and let's do this. Yeah, and in this invasion of Africa, they definitely used like all kinds of chemical warfare. You know, there was all kinds of rape, all kinds of genocide. All these things were already going on before World War I began. This is what I want you guys to understand. I don't want you guys to think that everything was calm and peaceful and then this Archduke was assassinated and then these wars started. You know, Africa was already being, you know, just beat to a pulp before World War I. What they would call World War I in the history book. Before that started, you know, Africa was already being just punished, you guys, in so many different ways. And that's what I want to that's the point that I want to get across, that, you know, it didn't start with this Archduke. But chemical warfare, you guys, you know, starvation, all these things, all these weapons were used against, you know, these different tribes in Africa by the Germans, by the Italians, by the French, you know, by the Bulgarians, by Belgium, by all these different people. You know, they all were, you know, using these very evil war tactics. Very evil, you guys. But, you know, getting back to this Archduke was assassinated, and he was actually from Austria-Hungary, and that's what on record they would say started World War I. But, you know, we have to talk about the tension between Serbia and Austria-Hungary. We got to talk about that, you guys. So basically, I think it was about maybe 1908 when Bosnia was annexed from Serbia by Austria-Hungary. And basically what that means is that they said that, Bosnia used to be ours. And, we know you got it now, but it used to be ours and we want it back. And we're taking it back right now. Okay? So you might say, like, that's crazy. Like, how did they just take it like that? Well, basically, Serbia was part of the Ottoman Empire. Okay, so Serbia was a part of the Ottoman Empire, and the Ottoman Empire was not very popular, you guys. The Ottoman Empire was run by the Turks, the Turkish. And basically, Austria actually took Bosnia from Serbia. And, Serbia kind of looked to Russia for help because, Russia is what actually protects Serbia. Okay? So when Russia realized what was going on, when they realized that, that their ally was losing this nation, and they're basically the protectors of Serbia, they took care of them. So when they saw what was going on, the leader of Russia actually had a hissy fit, right? He just had a hissy fit, and he wrote this letter just basically, just talking bad about Austria, you know what I'm saying? And he was using all kind of racial slurs, calling them, I'm not going to say it, but it was about, being Jewish. And he was just saying all this nasty stuff, right? So, you know what I mean? And it's kind of it's funny because you probably wouldn't think, you would be like, oh, without social media, people wasn't doing screenshots back then. People wasn't really doing screenshots way back then. But even back then, people was doing screenshots. Because look, okay, he sent that letter to the leader of Austria, and they got the letter, and then they was threatening Russia, like, hey, we'll show everybody this racist letter that you sent. You know what I mean? We'll show the documents of this racist letter that you sent. And it really made Russia look bad because Russia is allies with Serbia, and Serbia has a lot of Jewish people, you understand? So it kind of messes up their alliance when you're showing that you're actually really racist and you're showing how you really feel about the Serbian people. So just imagine from the Serbian point of view, okay, we got our enemies right here in front of us that are treating us bad, which is Austria-Hungary, and then on top of that are supposed to be allies, which are Russia. The Russians, they actually don't even really like us like that, you know what I mean? Because we just seen in the letter that, you know what I mean, they don't even really like us like that. So, the Serbians were super oppressed. They were super oppressed. They had lost part of their nation. And, here comes this Archduke riding through town, stunting on everybody. He's got some of his army with him. They got attacked. He got assassinated end of the day. And then that's how they say this war started. You know what I'm saying? But, yeah, it's very important to understand that the Serbians were super oppressed. You understand? And so we get this big war popping off. We get Austria going to Germany and asking Germany to back them up, asking Germany to help them. And Germany already wanted war because you got to remember, Germany is already in Africa, conquering most of Africa. So Germany is rich, you guys. They got all this stuff from Africa, all this natural resources, all this good stuff. They mining, they doing all this different stuff. Germany's rich from hitting up Africa. And not only are they rich, you guys, they got this superiority. They think they're superior to everybody else because they've been over here in Africa and they've been bombing on people and just really just taking over and killing everybody. So, that's when they start feeling like, they could just pretty much do whatever they wanted to do. So Germany's like, hey, we got the money. We loyal. We got your back. What's up, Austria? Let's go to war. We want the smoke. You know what I'm saying? So that's how Germany got into it with Austria. So What is Serbia gonna do? Serbia is like, oh my God, we're gonna have to go to war with Austria because Austria want the smoke. So we gotta call Russia. Russia's our, that's our allies. We gotta call Russia. And Russia, we feel bad because we was just racist to y'all a little while ago. So, yo, we got y'all back, we want the smoke. It's all good. And then we gotta hit our ally. And Russia hits their ally, who is France. France got Russia back. So they hit France up. Hey, France, you got our back. Yeah, we want the smoke. We got y'all back, Russia. It's all good. Yeah, so, the Serbians, they were super oppressed. And you have to understand, how smooth Austria-Hungary was for them to do the annexation of Bosnia, because Russia didn't have to agree to, the annexation of Bosnia. They didn't have to. They could have fought about it. But the reason they didn't fight about it, like I said, was because of, the screenshot that they took. And they were threatening them, saying like, okay, we'll show all of the documents unless you agree that, we could have Bosnia. And Russia actually caved in and actually said, okay, you guys can have Bosnia. You know what I mean? They just had they face in the sand. That's how bad it was for them to say all of these racist comments. And, a lot of their allies were Jewish. It just made them look crazy to the world. And, that really hurt Russia a lot, you guys. Just a little screenshot. So, meanwhile, you have the annexation of Bosnia, and at the same time as that, you have Bulgaria, who says that they're leaving the Ottoman Empire. So, the Turks are pissed. You know what I mean? The Turks are pissed off because they're losing Bulgaria, and it's all because of Austria-Hungary. So fast forward back to this Archduke getting assassinated because he was in Serbia and he got caught slipping, he got caught lacking, and they caught him, killed him and his wife, and this is what started the war. So here you have Austria-Hungary pissed off at Serbia. They make all these demands. And, Serbia actually agreed to all the demands except for one. There was one that they wouldn't agree to, and that was one that, it undermined their constitution. They wasn't going to go against their constitution. And it basically was like something saying that Austria could inquire into their government. So basically, they could make rules in their government. And Serbia wasn't having that. So they said, we could go to war if that's what it is. So Serbia calls Big Brother. Big Brother is Russia. And, Russia's got Serbia's back. And, they owed them one anyway for all the comments they was making, all the little racist comments. So they owed them one. So they had their back. Meanwhile, Austria-Hungary goes to Germany. Germany is Big Brother for Austria-Hungary. Germany is already bought it. Germany is already conquering most of Africa. Not most of it, but, they got big chunks of Africa. And, they're rich from these conquests. Everybody wants to be like Germany. Italy is basically modeling itself after Germany. Mussolini was in love with Germany and Hitler and all that stuff. Italy always looked up to Germany. So when you have Italy taking big chunks of Africa and you have Germany taking big chunks of Africa, their nations both became a lot richer, you understand? So when you have Germany, when they get called by Austria-Hungary to join the war, they're pretty stocked up. They've been practicing all their military stuff. They've got all these submarines, all these tanks. They got all this different stuff. So they were ready for war. So they definitely agreed, to go to war with their ally Austria-Hungary against Serbia and against Russia. So Russia is also allies with France. So Russia calls over to France, hey, you got my back. France is like, yeah, we got your back. You know what I mean? So basically what Germany did, Germany said, okay, what we're going to do, we're going to attack France and then we're going to attack Russia. And we're going to attack France so fast that Russia won't even be ready yet. and then we could go over there, and then we could fight Russia after we deal with France. So what happened is Germany actually started attacking France, and then Russia got ready real fast, and then Russia came over and started attacking Germany. So Germany had to fight the battle on both sides. And, you know, Austria wasn't much of a help. Austria was getting pounded by Russia. And they also were trying to attack Serbia, trying to invade Serbia, and they couldn't get into Serbia. Okay? Then you have what we call the War of the Balkan. Now, the War of the Balkan was really important because that's when the Ottoman Empire, which is the Turks, Turkey, that's when they got involved in World War I. Now, you're not going to hear this anywhere else, you guys, not the way I'm telling it. But, okay, when the Turks got involved in this war, this Balkan War, they basically fought the Bulgarians, because remember I told you the Bulgarians had left the Ottoman Empire. They wanted that smoke. So they fought them, they fought Greece, they fought Romania, they fought, you know, a lot of European places. And the important part about the Balkan War is that the Turks lost. That's the important part, you guys, is that they lost. And not only did they lose, you know, they got smashed. You know what I mean? They got literally smashed. And I'm going to tell you about some more genocide. You know what I mean? I don't want you to think that I just study like I only study Africa or something like that. There was more genocide, you guys. During the Balkan War, the Turks lost so bad, and it was their fault why they lost, but basically they blamed the Armenians. Now, the Armenians lived within the Ottoman Empire with the Turks, but, you know, the Turks had taken over the Armenians like years ago. So the Armenians just existed within the Ottoman Empire. So when they lost the Balkan War, the Turks were so mad that they blamed the Armenians. They said it was their fault. And one of the reasons that they blamed the Armenians was because, you know, a lot of Armenians were Russian. And they told the Armenians that, you know, all you guys have to fight with us, even the Russian ones. You know what I mean? And the Armenians were like, hey, the Russian Armenians are going to fight with the Russians. You know, the Ottoman Empire Armenians is going to fight with the Ottoman Empire, obviously, right? But the Turks took that to heart. You know, the Turks are kind of emotional. I'm not going to lie. They're kind of emotional. So they took it to heart, and they never really forgave the Armenians. And then when they lost, they really blamed them. And that's when they started basically a genocide. They told all of the Armenian soldiers that they were now going to be part of the labor union. And when they thought they were going to go do labor, you know, they gave up all their guns. They basically demilitarized the Armenian army, and then they killed them all, you know, genocide. And on top of that, you know, they went door to door, took a lot of them out of their houses, took them up into the mountains, and killed a lot of the Armenians. So this is what the Turks were doing to the Armenians. This is during World War I, you guys. This is after the first battle when they first lost. This is when they first started killing all the Armenians. So when you hear about the Ottoman Empire in the World War I and how they kept losing all these battles, they fought Russia and they lost against Russia. They went over and tried to attack Britain. They lost against Britain. This is all during World War I. You got to remember, at the same time, they were committing this genocide on the Armenian people. So it has a lot to do with why they were losing all their wars, because they were so caught up in this civil war that was going on. And guys, you know, like even the Germans didn't just walk into Africa and just, you know, take what they wanted. They met like a lot of resistance from the African people. Specifically the Hehe tribe, you know, they actually defeated the German army. When they first arrived in Africa, they were actually defeated by the Hehe tribe, you guys, like actually beaten. But the Germans didn't give up. You know, they sent more troops, more reinforcements, and they kept attacking. You know, there was also a big war in Africa with the Germans, and It was actually called the Masjid Mache War, or the Masjid Mache War. And this was a big war fought between the Germans and a lot of different African tribes that all united together and tried to fight the Germans, but they were unsuccessful. You guys, the Germans were a real superpower at this time, you know. I know we like to think that the U.S. was always this huge superpower, but the U.S. actually made the most money that they made during World War I, you guys. Not before, you know. They weren't already rich when it started. They actually made their money selling weapons to the different nations during World War I, okay? Very important to understand. Okay, so going back to Germany, Germany wanted all the smoke. Germany started attacking France, hitting France up, and it came to a point where Russia was getting ready to attack Germany. So what did Germany do? Germany knew they had to hurry up. They had to hurry up and knock France off the map. So what Germany tried to do, Germany tried to cut through Belgium, okay? It's important to understand that Belgium is right next to France. I don't know if you ever looked at a map, but Belgium is right next to France. So basically, Germany wanted to cut through Belgium and flank France and attack them from behind. Okay, Belgium wasn't down with that. Belgium didn't want them coming into their nation, even if they weren't going to attack Belgium. They didn't want them coming through, bringing troops through, even though they were neutral. Okay, so Germany didn't have time to be talking, negotiating, doing all that different stuff. They wanted to smoke with France. So basically what they did was they started attacking Belgium. Belgium wasn't no punks. They wasn't just going, you know what I mean? They wasn't just going to lay down. They started fighting back, and they actually did good. You know, they was getting with Germany a little bit. And Britain is actually allies with Belgium. So when they saw that, you know, when they saw that Germany was attacking Belgium for no reason, then they jumped into war and they declared war on Germany. So now, you know, Germany's got a new enemy. They got an enemy in Britain. But at the same time, if you really look at it, all these different nations were already holding chunks of Africa. And, you know, they were already bumping heads in Africa before all this even started, you guys. You know what I mean? This is just the stuff that made the history book. But I'm going to go ahead and end this and make this part 1 of the World War I series. We're going to keep these videos coming. I'm going to make them as fast as I can, you guys. Keep them real interesting for you guys. I appreciate you guys watching. Please like the video. Please subscribe if this is your first time here. I'm going to try and do something different on this channel, you guys. I really want everybody to be informed. If you know your history, it can't repeat itself. The Lanky Prepper, appreciate you. Peace.